Hey everyone, Johnny here. Don't speak news. News we're not supposed to speak about, but we're going to do it anyway, so we'll just get into it like we always do. So this has been rumored for a month now, for the entire month of December, essentially. Front page, banner headline in Israel, Trump greenlights Iran attack. Big shock, I know, but here we go again, right? We had the 12-day war back in, what was it, June, July of this year, and now we're going to have the whatever day war coming up soon. Maybe even tonight, from what I'm understanding. Over here at Hal Turner, it says today's banner headline of this Israeli newspaper reports that the green light for an attack on Iran, well, it's been given. The story goes on to report that Prime Minister Netanyahu met with President Trump at the president's personal estate in Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach, Florida, and outlined why Israel must attack Iran again and its ballistic missiles. Because, we can't have anybody retaliating against Israel when Israel attacks them unjustly, can we? I mean, Israel needs impunity whenever they attack someone. That's why they always attack Lebanon and the Gaza Strip, because they have no defenses against them and no real way to retaliate against them. And that's what they don't want Iran to have. They don't want any retaliation because Iran almost took Israel out the last time. And it took a lot of pressure from a lot of different countries to get them to stop. Like it says here, the first time Israel attacked Iran was a sneak attack over Iran's alleged nuclear program. That sneak attack by Israel resulted in what is now called the 12-day war, in which Iranian missiles rained down on Israel so ferociously that the Israelis were one day away from running out of missile defenses. After a slew of countries pressured Iran, the Iranians agreed to a ceasefire, but they made it clear to the entire world, if Israel attacks Iran again, there won't be any ceasefires. In the months since that 12-day conflict ended, Israel has bolstered its missile defenses and rearmed. But Iran has also bolstered its armaments, being aided in that regard by both China and Russia. I've just been reading reports this morning about Russian military cargo planes landing inside of Iran as we speak. So they're still sending it over there in preparation for this war, I'm sure. The fact that this Israeli newspaper has now run a banner headline about Trump giving a green light for another Israeli attack upon Iran, well, that just might cause Iran to strike preemptively. You never know. They've talked about that here in the recent past. The Iranians have. So we'll have to see. Will it begin as we start the new year? Well, we'll have to see there too. It very well could. In fact, I've read another short breaking news report that said Netanyahu is going to be spending New Year's with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. So I don't know if it would start when he's not in Israel, but we'll see. You never know. Also on the rumors of wars news front, we have this from Patrick Lancaster, came up the other day. And this is about the fake Ukraine war negotiations and the fact they're just smoke and mirrors. And this is what I've been saying for a while now, just not in these words, but here it is, plain and simple, and to the point, just the way I like it. So yes, these are fake war negotiations. This war is not going to stop. And in fact, you see with that Club of Rome map that I've showed you from the 70s of the 10 different regions of the world, the 10 kings, is what I compare it to from the Bible. At these 10 regions, well, Ukraine ends up being part of Russia in the Club of Rome map, the final Club of Rome map. And that's why Trump is pushing to annex Canada and also Greenland, because Canada and Greenland are part of the United States zone on the map from the Club of Rome. Go check it out. I've put it up on the website more than once, actually. So, fake Ukraine war negotiations are just smoke and mirrors. Peace is a lie, it says. And Trump's holding a little sign here in this picture, negotiations are fake. For weeks now, the public has been flooded with headlines about breakthroughs, major progress, and historic peace talks on Ukraine. Meetings are announced, statements are amplified, and optimism is carefully staged. But when you strip away the theater, one hard reality remains untouched. These negotiations are not about ending the war. They're about managing perception, and the core problem is brutally simple. There's no legal way for Russia to declare the war over while Ukrainian forces remain on territory that Russian law and the Russian Constitution define as Russian territory. That alone makes most of what you're hearing little more than smoke and mirrors. Yes, until Ukraine withdraws all the troops from the territory they're occupying that Russia declares their own now, then there will be no peace. And eventually, this will be all of Ukraine, just like that Club of Rome map shows us. In fact, let me see if I can pull that up real quick since I've been talking about it. Here it is. I put it up in May of this year. New World Order, the Club of Rome and its 10 kingdoms. There they are right here. And look at number 5 where Russia is. Ukraine's all taken over. So is most of Eastern Europe as well, the Baltics. So there you have it. And Europe is over here in the yellow, and the United States region over here in green, which includes, as you can see, Greenland and Canada. So I'll put the link up for this in case you guys missed it or want a refresher course on it. I talked about it in this video on the same posting as well. So there's some good links here for you to look at the same time. So I'll put this link up as a refresher course. Now back to the story at hand. Where were we? Oh yeah, the fake Ukraine-Russia peace talks. So like I said before, like Patrick has written here, there's no legal way for Russia to declare the war over while Ukrainian forces remain on territory that Russian law and the Russian Constitution define as Russian territory. So the Kremlin's position is objectives, not optics. Through Dmitry Peskov and other officials, the Kremlin has been consistent in one fundamental point. Russia is not negotiating narratives. It is pursuing stated objectives. The Kremlin has repeatedly stated that fighting can stop only if Ukraine withdraws its forces from the Donbass and the so-called New Russia territories it still holds, territories Moscow claims under Russian law and the Constitution. So these key positions that keep being repeated by Moscow include: Russia will assess Trump-Zelensky talks only after receiving official information from the United States. Vladimir Putin and Trump did not discuss any Christmas ceasefire. There is no interest in publicly speculating about joint management of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant or special economic zones in contested regions. Moscow views any end to the conflict strictly through the lens of achieving its objectives, not through improvised plans, media leaks, or rhetorical Plan B statements. This is not ambiguity, it is intentional clarity. And now especially they're going to stick to these things after Ukraine tried to assassinate Putin at his home using drones. I think up to 90 drones, they said. And that attack was thwarted by their air defenses. But, and Trump says he was outraged by the attack, like he didn't know about it and didn't approve it beforehand. Once again, all smoke and mirrors, pretending to be shocked. So the Donbass distraction. Most media coverage and many so-called peace proposals obsess over Donbass. That's already a sleight of hand. Yes, Donbass includes Donetsk and Lugansk, but the Donbass is not the full territorial issue Russia says this war is about. Under Russia's own legal framework, the territory it claims includes Crimea, Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia. So when you hear phrases like Ukraine just needs to withdraw from Donbass, understand what's happening. The argument is being shrunk to something that does not match Russia's own legal claims. A Donbass-only withdrawal does not resolve the war under Russia's constitutional logic, not even close. Now I'll let you read the rest on your own. I'm trying to keep these a little bit shorter if I can, but it goes into Trump's optimism versus legal reality, which we already covered. So under the Russian law and constitution, Ukraine has to withdraw from all of these different places that I just listed for you, or else these negotiations are fake, useless, and are going absolutely nowhere. They're just smoke and mirrors like it says here. Wow. And it was awesome for Patrick to point this all out, because you'll never hear this on any of these, even on these alternative reports. You never hear this perspective. You never hear about the fact that they have definite objectives here and that they're claiming all of this territory, not just the Donbass. And these are constitutional changes that Russia made after they voted on them. And so now all these places are part of Russia. And they can't be negotiated away. There can't be any piecemeal deals here. Russia gets all of this territory under any peace deal, or there's no peace. And there won't be. Because like I said, they've got a new world order to form. And Ukraine is going to be part of Russia, along with other parts of Europe too. and the Baltics. Get ready. It's not over, not even close to over yet. And now we're going to move from these wars and rumors of wars to the economic ones, as we see all kinds of fluctuations in the markets today, and including gold and silver prices. Well, they fell again today after the CME, the exchange, they raised the precious metal margins again. They just did it on Monday, and now they're doing it again. Why? To force people to liquidate their positions and thereby drop the price of silver. That's what they're trying to do, but it's not working very well, as we're going to cover here as well. But gold and silver prices fall after CME raises precious metal margins again. So gold and silver prices fell Wednesday after exchange operator CME Group again hiked the margins on precious metal futures. The move comes as investors book profits after a historic annual rally. CME Group said in a statement on Tuesday that the decision was made as per the normal review of market volatility to ensure adequate collateral coverage. What that truly means is that people are shorting the market, the silver market. In other words, they're betting against it. They're betting that it's going to fall. Well, when it keeps rising, they have to have cash to cover the difference. They have to have cash on hand, and now they've raised the requirements for amount of cash they have to have on hand to cover their bets, essentially. And so because they have to have all this extra cash on hand, they've had to cash out of their contracts, their silver contracts, in order to raise that cash so that they qualify to stay in the markets. But there's been an unprecedented rise in gold and silver this past year. Gold and silver prices lost ground Wednesday as investors booked profits after a historic annual rally. An exchange operator CME Group hiked the margins on precious metal futures for the second time in the space of a week. That's really unprecedented as well. They're really trying to hold the price down, guys. So spot silver prices, meanwhile, tumbled 5.6% to $72.15 per ounce, powering gains after climbing above $80 for the first time at the start of the week. Yeah, they couldn't have that. It actually went over 90 in Shanghai at one point. So this move comes at the end of a blockbuster year for the precious metals. Gold is up 64% year to date, on track for its best annual performance since 1979 and third straight positive year. So that rally has been supported by a multitude of factors, including the impact of U.S. interest rate cuts, tariff tensions, and robust demand from exchange-traded funds and central banks. But silver has far outpaced gold in 2025. The metal, which has endured wild price swings in recent days, is on course for an annual gain of nearly 150%. Like gold, this would be silver's best yearly performance since 1979. Silver's price boom has stemmed from a mix of low supply and high demand from India, as well as industrial needs and tariffs. Indeed. And now that brings me to this article that I put up earlier this month about America losing 20,000 jobs per month. Those are the real numbers, not the fake ones that the mainstream media puts up for us to see. And once again, the U.S. government's lying about the job numbers, probably to keep Trump from going crazy. There's also a huge monetary shift going on around the world that nobody's talking about. It's why the price of silver is going crazy this year, why it won't drop below $60 again, no matter how much they try to manipulate it. And it still hasn't, even though they've been doing their best this past week to do that, to manipulate it down. And it goes back to this report I showed you on silver a while ago, over here at Hal Turner, back at the beginning of this month. The most important monetary shift of the 21st century, and nobody's talking about it. And what was happening at the time, and it's still happening, is there's this correlation going on that's never existed in history. Silver has detached from the COMEX pricing and started tracking settlement currency flows. That is a signal of sovereign accumulation, not investor speculation. So people are starting to hoard silver as well. Governments, especially China, as I covered on the blog here yesterday with a guest post from Helena Glass on Global Research. Global silver controlled by China and JP Morgan. And like I said here, the big banks have tried to stop the rise of silver this week, and that was before this new report that I just showed you, how they changed the margins again and forced more people to liquidate their silver. But the big banks tried to stop the rise of silver this week again, twice, which was successful at first, but then has failed miserably, as silver's back up to almost $80 an ounce. That was yesterday. That's a rebound of 7% overnight, and the banks are out of ammunition. Well, I thought they were, but they raised the margins again. It looks like China and JP Morgan saw the writing on the wall and bought in while the prices were low. Now that there's a real physical shortage, and Russia, China, and India are using it to back oil purchases via the UAE, the US dollar is in real trouble as it was backed by oil purchases, but now that monopoly is gone. And then there's this report from Helena Glass. China contributes roughly 13% of the global mined silver, but 70% of the refining capacity. While DC burned under Israel's hostage, China just outmaneuvered the global economy for technology, AI, defense weapons, EVs, iPhones, computers, etc. China is shutting down the world's largest silver refinery. Beijing is moving from the strategic hoarding to total resource control. They have introduced a new regime of export licenses designed to exclude every Western trader. To get silver out of China beginning January 1st, an entity must show production capacity of at least 80 tons, hold a $30 million credit line, and receive state approval over the rest of the world. China just pulled the rug from under the U.S. Samsung put in an order to COMEX for 50 million ounces to secure contracts for 2026, and were given roughly 10% or 5 million, temporarily shutting down COMEX trading. Mexico is the largest producer of silver in the world with 5 major mines, 4 of which are owned by Industrias Penoles CV and one by Newmont YTD. Year to date, Newmont's share price has risen from $40 to $106, an increase of about 270%. Penole's shares have risen from $290 to $980 year to date. So where's all this silver? Well, JP Morgan has been revealed to have stockpiled 750 million ounces, a value today of 60 billion. In 2024, global production of silver was 819 million ounces. Global reserves are estimated to be 640,000 metric tons. There are 35,274 ounces in 1 metric ton. While Trump is pursuing penal bombing on countries without militaries, using up vital inventory, lying about the state of the U.S. economy, and building ballrooms for the elite, the entire economy is going to crumble without rare earths and silver. A literal firestorm. While Sunshine Silver in Idaho is upgrading and expanding, it only produces 7.6 million ounces annually. Under the new rules, companies must secure licenses to export silver with eligibility limited to state-approved firms producing at least 80 tons annually and holding $30 million in credit lines. The U.S. alone uses 1.2 billion ounces annually, with Mexico and Canada the major export partners. The value increase will be passed on to every electronic, every defense weapon, every solar panel, etc. The cost of living is about to explode. Few can survive a 300% increase. Will inflation register these spikes, or will artificial reporting continue to assert an inflation rate of 2%? A ridiculous gobsmack by President Trump, whose economic genius is on par with a first grader? That's about right. So the banks holding the largest short positions, remember, bidding against the market, of silver include HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Bank of America, Scotiabank, and UBS. However, a total of 22 banks hold shorts, which could potentially lead to bank collapses. They are now sitting on 300% shorts, and they're borrowing to cover the shorts. Like gold, the manipulation of silver is gone, and the price is a market nightmare. Did Elon Musk also stockpile silver to secure Tesla? I would imagine he probably did, or they probably tried. China now holds all the cards, and Trump's big, beautiful defense destroyers and F-35s are grounded. Russia and the BRICS hold title. And so I will leave the rest for you to read on your own. I think you get the point. But the silver is being controlled by China and JP Morgan. Also, I would throw India and Russia in on that mix too, because they're the ones trading and backing their currencies with it. So they can trade outside of the US dollar. Because if you've got a precious metal backing up your currency, well, then that puts a lot more confidence into that currency. And there we go. Wow, guys, everything is shifting and shifting really, really fast. Also, on Hal Turner from earlier this morning, breaking news. New country, Somaliland, to accept all Palestinians. Isn't that something? Now, I saw a blurb on Telegram the other day. I believe it was Monday, saying that Israel was the first nation in the world to recognize this new country called Somaliland, which is right here, carved out of Somalia itself in the north, I guess you could say northeastern part of the country. And now they're going to accept Palestinians. So over the past few weeks, a new country calling itself Somaliland or Somaliland has declared its existence by taking over the northern part of the existing country of Somalia. The only other country on earth to recognize Somaliland has been Israel. Now we know why. Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed stated publicly today, our intelligence indicates that three important steps have been agreed upon with Somaliland. First, the resettlement of Palestinians in Somaliland. Second, the provision of an Israeli military base on the Gulf of Aden coast. Yes, right next to where they want to be for the war. And so, let's see, resettlement, Israeli military base. Third, Somalia's ascension to the Abraham Accords. Of course. These are the three Israeli demands that Somaliland has accepted. So Hal Turner says all claims to the contrary, the world now sees what the real purpose of Israel attacking Gaza was, ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. Exactly. That's what I was talking about with my wife regarding this story this morning. Literally, a crime against humanity. The reality is now as plain as the nose of our face. If these three steps are implemented, what will happen in the future? I think a Pandora's box will be opened in the world. Yeah, indeed. So that's why Israel was so quick to recognize Somaliland, because they agreed to take in the Palestinians and allow a military base on their land, Israeli military base in this case, so they can keep a closer eye on the Persian Gulf and also the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, choke points right here. So with the Israeli military base here, it's a lot closer for them to defend these areas. And that's the whole idea. And now, of course, they've got a place to expel the Palestinians to. We'll have to see what the rest of the world thinks of this as time goes on here into the new year. Wow. Well, we're here, guys. We're at the end, at least according to the Gregorian calendar, we're at the end of the year, the last day of 2025. Where did it go? I mean, time has definitely sped up. Holy cow. I mean, it just seemed like yesterday we were talking about 2025 being the new year. And the scientists said, yes, the time has literally sped up. The days are actually just a little bit shorter. And Jesus said that unless the days were shortened, there'd be nothing left to save. There'd be no flesh left to save. But for the elect's sake, the days are being made shorter. And that's what we see literally going on right now. Are you ready? Do you have Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? Because the New World Order is being implemented right now in front of our face, right in front of our eyes. It's being implemented. And all these regions are becoming a reality soon. We've got Trump has people in Greenland right now to facilitate the transition of Greenland to the United States. Of course, Denmark is protesting about it, but you're not really hearing about it much, are you? Well, that's why I'm here. But you know, Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one gets reconciled to the Father but through him. He said it himself. You're not going to get there through Muhammad. You're not going to get there through Moses. You're not going to get there through Buddha. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. You must seek him now, while there's still time, while he can still be found. Repent of your sins, turn your life over to him, and let him renew it for you. I know there's people out there who you've walked away. You've had churches that have turned you off and you've completely walked away. He's calling you home right now because he's about to return. And once he returns, it's too late. There's no more second chances. So make him your Lord and Savior today. Like I said, while he can still be found. And that'll be it for now. Don't forget, don'tspeaknews.com is home base for all that we do. And I put a lot of stuff here that we just can't report anywhere else. Like stories like this. I also put this one up here this morning about the Somali daycare and autism grift situation in Minnesota, which actually it's kind of close to home for me. So you can read that story that I just put up here this morning and many, many more like it. 3,000 plus now here on the website, don'tspeaknews.com. And if you'd like to find us around the internet, including our Rumble, BitChute, and Telegram links, you can just click on this tab here All the links to find us are right there. If you'd like to support us, we are listener supported only, and we're here at the end of the month and the end of the year. We could definitely use your support. Thank you very much to those of you who have done so already. Like I say, just about every time. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't stick around. All the links to support us are right underneath that tab, including our Cash App right here. And we also have Venmo now, so your options are many. And that, folks, will be it for now. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.